Her name was Amara. Most people never really noticed her at first. She didn't demand attention. She didn't take up space loudly. She existed softly in listening nods, in patient silences, in the way she stayed when others drifted away. People said she was kind. But what they really meant was this: Amara was available. She answered messages quickly. She remembered details no one else cared to hold. She noticed changes in tone, in energy, in silence. And she adjusted herself accordingly. She learned early that being easy to love meant being easy to access. So she became that. Not because anyone asked her to, but because somewhere deep inside, she believed kindness was safety. If she gave enough, if she understood enough, if she stayed long enough, she would be chosen. At first it felt noble. Helping felt like a purpose. Listening felt like a connection. Giving felt like love. But what Amara didn't realize, what kind people rarely realize at first, was that she was slowly teaching people something dangerous. She was teaching them that her presence was guaranteed. The pattern didn't appear all at once. It never does. It started small. Friends who only called when they needed to vent. Family members who assumed she would always say yes. People who disappeared when life was calm, and reappeared in chaos. Amara told herself it was normal. Everyone needs support sometimes, she thought. And I'm strong enough to give it. So she kept showing up. She canceled plans. She rearranged priorities. She swallowed her own exhaustion and called it maturity. And each time she ignored her discomfort, it grew quieter, but heavier. She noticed how conversations were rarely about her. How her problems felt like interruptions. How her sadness made people uncomfortable. When she was present, she was expected. When she was absent, she was unnoticed. That should have been the warning. But kind people don't listen to warnings. They explain them away. There were moments, small, sharp moments, that tried to wake her. Like when she needed someone, and no one answered. Or when she shared something vulnerable, and the room fell silent. Or when she realized she knew everyone's pain, but no one knew hers. Still she stayed. Because leaving felt cruel. Because pulling back felt selfish. Because she had confused endurance with love. Over time, saying yes stopped feeling generous. It felt heavy. It felt like pressure in her chest. Like tension behind her eyes. Like a quiet resentment she didn't want to name. And saying no? That felt worse. No felt like guilt. No felt like rejection. No felt like becoming someone unkind. So she avoided it. She kept giving until giving began to drain her. And exhaustion has a way of telling the truth kindness tries to hide. The night everything shifted wasn't dramatic. No argument. No betrayal. No final straw. Just silence. Amara sat alone in her room, phone in her hand, screen dark. She had spent the entire day supporting others. Listening, advising, comforting. Now the noise was gone. And so was everyone else. Hours passed. No messages. No check-ins. No "are you okay?" And in that stillness, something uncomfortable surfaced. A thought she had been avoiding for years. If I disappeared right now, how long would it take before anyone noticed? The answer arrived too quickly. That was the moment the story she told herself began to crack. She wasn't surrounded by people because she was loved. She was surrounded by people because she was useful. That realization didn't come gently. It arrived like grief. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. She replayed memories differently now. The last-minute requests. The unreturned favors. The emotional labor offered without gratitude. She saw how often she had made herself smaller so others could feel comfortable. How often she had ignored her own needs to avoid being labeled difficult. How often she had mistaken tolerance for connection. And then the most painful truth of all emerged. She had been teaching people how to treat her. Teaching them that her time was flexible. Teaching them that her boundaries were negotiable. Teaching them that her feelings were secondary. That truth sat heavy in her chest. Because it meant this wasn't just about others. It was about her. The next phase was quiet, but uncomfortable. Amara didn't announce changes. She didn't explain herself. She simply began to pause. She didn't respond immediately. She declined invitations she didn't have energy for. She stopped overgiving where appreciation never lived. And the reaction was immediate. People noticed. Not because they missed her, but because access to her was suddenly restricted. Some questioned her. Some guilted her. Some withdrew completely. They said she was distant now. Different. Selfish. The word stung. But something deeper stirred beneath the discomfort. Relief. For the first time, she wasn't betraying herself to be accepted. She was choosing peace, even when it cost her relationships. And that's when the final hidden truth revealed itself. Not everyone who benefits from your kindness cares about you. Some people don't love you. They love how much you tolerate them. They love how much you forgive. How much you give. How little you ask for in return. When Amara stopped offering endless access, those people faded. And it hurts. Because losing people always hurts. Even when they are hurting you. But beneath the loss was something steadier. Clarity. She understood now that kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is self-abandonment. And self-respect will always feel like cruelty to those who profit from your silence. Amara didn't become cold. She didn't lose her softness. She simply redirected it inward. She learned that being kind does not mean being endlessly available. That love does not require self-erasure. That boundaries are not walls. They are filters. And the people who stayed? They stayed differently. With care. With respect. With intention. Because real connection doesn't demand self-sacrifice. It meets you where you stand. The quiet lesson kind people learn too late is not about becoming harder. It's about becoming honest. Honest about your limits. Honest about your needs. Honest about who is worthy of your energy. Because you don't lose people when you set boundaries. You lose people who were never meant to stay once you stopped abandoning yourself. And that loss, as painful as it feels, is not the ending. It's the beginning.